give a schmeichel, give a schmeichel, give a smile. Give a schmeichel, give a schmeichel. Be the reason someone smiles. Give a schmeichel, give a schmeichel. Give a schmeichel, give a smile. Give a schmeichel, give a schmeichel. Be the reason someone smiles. Give a schmeichel, give a schmeichel, give a smile. Give a schmeichel, give a schmeichel. Be the reason someone smile. Give a schmeichel, give a schmeichel. Give a schmeichel, give a smile. Give a schmeichel, give a schmeichel. Be the reason someone smile. Simba, gedola, lio, lio, desimba. Simba, gedola, lio, lio, desimba. Simba, gedola, lio, lio, desimba. Simba, gedola, lio, desimba. Simba, gedola, lio, 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 desimba. Be the reason someone smiles. 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 Simba, gedola, lio, desimba. Simba, gedola, lio, lio, desimba. Simba, gedola, lio, lio, desimba. Simba, gedola, lio, desimba. Someone smile. Be the reason someone smile. Be the reason someone smile. Be the reason someone smiles. Be the reason someone smiles.
Breakfast with Ellie.
Mode ani lefanecha melech chai vekayam shechezarta bi nishmati bechemla raba emunatecha.
Shalom Aleichem, everybody. Today I'm going to be affixing a mezuzah. I'm going to be putting a mezuzah on the doorpost, and I'm going to be showing you how to do it. So first you need your beautiful mezuzah. This is, by the way, a Bible commandment. And you want to put it on the right side of the doorpost when facing the main room that you're entering. Yes, here's the kitchen, but the main room there is the living room. So we're going to be putting on the right side with a tilt towards the main room, as well as it should be measured 2/3 of the way up the doorpost. 2/3 of the way up. And then you want to get 2-sided tape, and then you're going to put it up and make the bracha. So here we go. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu mitzveisav v'tzivanu likboa mezuzah.
Good morning, Dean. How are you? All right, here we go. Good morning and welcome to Breakfast with Ellie. It is Wednesday, the 9th day of November, the 15th day of Mar Cheshvan. The Torah portion is Lech Lecha, Hayom Yom Revi'i L'Shabbos, the 4th day. Counting up towards Shabbos, we'll be learning the 4th Aliyah. I'm hoping that you all went out and voted. Did you? Some interesting results, and we're not going to discuss them here because that's not what we do. That's right. We stay away from that as much as humanly possible. So let's do a mitzvah today. All right, do one mitzvah. All right, men and boys, take your two front tzitzis and let's make a bracha. Ready?
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddishanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu al mitzvat tzitzit.
All right, al divrei Torah.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddishanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu al divrei Torah.
All right, Hareini Mekabel.
Hareini Mekabel alai mitzvat aseh shel ve'ahavta l'reacha kamocha. I take upon myself every single day to love my fellow friend in a very special way.
All right, Torah.
Ay Torah tziva lanu Moshe morasha keilat Yaakov. Torah tziva lanu Moshe morasha keilat Yaakov.
All right, fantastic. And now let's give some tzedakah.
I put it in the pushki, the tzedakah box. I put it in the pushki, the tzedakah box. I put it in the pushki for someone else to keep. Yeah, I put it in the pushki, the tzedakah box. I put it in the pushki, the tzedakah box. I put it in the pushki for someone else in need.
Fantastic. Tzedakah has been given. Thank you. I hope that you can. All right, and now, Shema, ready? Right hand over your eye.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad.
Fantastic. And that, of course, takes us to breakfast. I've got coffee and yogurt, so I'm making a bracha shahakol. What are you making? And what time is it where you are? Ready? Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech hakol nihiyah b'dvarei. Very delicious. Very, very, very delicious. What is this? Mango yogurt, yeah. Mango Greek light yogurt. No sugar added.
Coffee, blessed coffee. God bless you for being a friend. When the whole world turns on me, it's only you on which I can depend. I want to taste you in the morning and a few times throughout the day. Yes, a cup or two in the evening too. For me, it's the only way.
All right, fantastic. And now, today in Jewish history. You know what? I just have to show you this very, very funny piece that my daughter posted on her timeline. You get 1 hour of extra sleep. And what do you lose? The will to live after the sun sets at 4 p.m. I thought that was very funny. Because as you know, Shabbos this week is going to be extremely, extremely early. How early, you ask? In New York City, you're going to light candles for Shabbos at 4:23 p.m. I know. It almost doesn't seem possible, right? All right, for today, Wednesday, the 15th day of the month of Cheshvan, full moon, by the way, is the yahrzeit of Matisyahu. Oh, in the 2nd century before the Common Era, in the year 139, the Holy Land was ruled by the Seleucids, the Syrian Greeks, who, with the collaboration of the Jewish Hellenists, introduced pagan idols into the Holy Temple and set about to forcefully Hellenize the people of Israel. Matisyahu, the son of the high priest Yochanan, was already an old man when he picked up a sword and raised the flag of revolt in the village of Modi'in in the Judean hills, and it still exists today, Modi'in. Many rallied under his cry, Mi Lashem Elai, who, that is for Hashem, come with me, and resisted and battled the Greeks from their mountain hideouts. Now, after heading the revolt for 1 year, Matisyahu died today, the 15th day of Cheshvan, in the year 3622 from creation. His 5 sons, the Maccabees, for that Mi LaHashem Alai, whoever is for Hashem come with me, that's the acrostic of the first letters. His sons, Judah, Yochanan, Shimon, Elazar, and Yonatan, carried on the battle to its eventual victory. Celebrated each year by the Jews the world over with the festival of Hanukkah. I know. And you can go to virtualhanukkah.com. That is already live for this year. virtualhanukkah.com. All right. Yeah. On this night in 1938 was Kristallnacht. It continued on to the next day, November 9th. Yeah. On the secular calendar. The Nazis coordinated vicious pogroms against the Jewish community of Germany, organized by their leaders, and encouraged the rioters attacked and beat Jewish residents, burned and destroyed 267 synagogues, vandalized 7,500 Jewish businesses, and ransacked countless Jewish cemeteries, hospitals, schools, and homes, my mother's home being one of them. While police and firefighters stood by, 91 Jews were killed and 20,000 others were deported to concentration camps. Thank God my mother's family survived this, and it was finally Kristallnacht that convinced my grandfather to leave Germany. He wasn't going to leave. He fought in the Kaiser's army. This couldn't be happening. These pogroms, which collectively became known as Kristallnacht, the night of broken glass, referring to the thousands of windows that were broken, were a turning point after which Nazi anti-Jewish policy intensified. Yeah. All right. The Warsaw Ghetto was sealed on this date in 1940 by the Nazis. The 1939 census in Warsaw listed 359,827 Jews, many of whom perished in the Warsaw Ghetto. It was a sad time in history. Let me find this over here. Ryan Terrell, who is hoping to become the first Orthodox Jewish player in NBA history, made his professional debut Monday night.
Big in this one. They're down by 24 points. What's happening?
This is the professional debut for Ryan Terrell. He's trying to be the first ever Orthodox Jew to play in the NBA. He's got the branded yarmulke to do it, and a large contingent in this crowd are happy to see him in. This guy can ball too. Amongst all levels of collegiate basketball last year, he led the country in scoring.
Terrell is playing for the Detroit Pistons G League affiliate called the Motor City Cruise. They played in their home opener in Wayne State Fieldhouse against the Windy City Bulls. Terrell, who was drafted number 27 overall by the Cruise in October's G League draft, came out onto the floor late in the game to loud applause and even louder cheers when he touched the ball during his first possession, and he actually helped them make a basket later on in the game. And there's footage of that. If you go to YouTube, I'm sure you can find it. Pretty cool, right? I thought that you would like that. Hayom Yom for today, the 15th day of Cheshvan.
When we were in camp, we used to have this contest where there were two members of a team. One is blindfolded and this blindfolded fellow has to make his way through an obstacle course. But he's blindfolded, of course, so he has the help of his teammate. His teammate can see, no blindfold, but the teammate, the seeing teammate, stands at the outside of the obstacle course, and by shouting at his blind teammate is supposed to instruct the blinded fellow, turn right, turn left, climb up, bend downwards. And as a team, they've got to work together to get this blind fellow through the course. It's a fun game, but there's also really the story of life in this little contest here. We are taught that our souls, before being born into a body, live in what we call the world of truth. It's called the world of truth because the soul knows the truth. The soul can see reality. The soul knows what life is about, where we're from, where we're trying to get to, and how we need to get there. The body, that's like the blind teammate, because once you're born in this world, it's very easy to become blinded and lose the perspective, lose that clarity on where it is that we've got to be headed. So the soul's got this really tremendous virtue, this power of sight and clarity. But the body's also got a tremendous virtue, because while the body is blind, this world, this physical world, the world that the physical body inhabits, is the world of opportunity. Because the soul knows that it can only get where it needs to get to with the aid of the body, that blind body. Says today's Hayom Yom, before the soul is born, it impatiently awaits the moment for it to be born into a body, because the soul recognizes how much it can accomplish with the body. So every moment of your life presents tremendous opportunity. You've got to listen to your soul and then capitalize on the moment.
All right. That's the way to do it. Capitalize on the good things. All right. trying to find that. Trying to find that piece of Ryan there. There it is. All right. Well, it's not letting me share it. Let me see if I can open it in YouTube. All right. Well, we'll get it. We'll get it. Okay. In our breaking news section today, what do I have for you? Oh, yes. Here you go. First of all, the Powerball. Powerball results are in. The winning numbers were 10, 33, 41, 47, and 56. And the Powerball number was 10. The multiplier was 2x. I don't know what that means. So somebody won it. One person won all that money. I know. And the next Powerball will be tomorrow night. Tonight, November 9th at 10:59 p.m. with an estimated jackpot of $20 million. That's still something, right? You'd be happy with $20 million, right? Yeah. Okay. That's good. Here is a beautiful composite picture of the eclipse. What is special about this? Take a look at it. Take a look at it, my friends. In that composite picture of the eclipse, you see the shadow of the Earth. I know. That's pretty cool, right? I thought you'd like that. All right. All right, there. Give you one more second to take a look at it. Okay. What else do I have for you? That's really it in breaking news today. Let us do a Now This.
Hydrogen is one possible answer for our dependence on the fossil fuels that power our cars and buses. Even though vehicles that use hydrogen to spin their wheels have been on the market for years, the technology is still struggling to gain traction. That could change in the near future as the European Union and other countries have committed to expanding their use of green hydrogen. Yes, I specifically said green hydrogen because there are a couple ways of producing it, and not all of them move us toward the goal of cutting down on greenhouse gas emissions. Today, the most common hydrogen is known as gray hydrogen, and it's created from fossil fuels, like in a process called steam methane reforming. By combining ultra-hot steam with the methane in natural gas and a catalyst, the water vapor and methane react and produce hydrogen gas, carbon monoxide, and some carbon dioxide. A second step, called the water-gas shift reaction, uses the carbon monoxide, steam, and another catalyst to extract more hydrogen gas, giving off CO2 as a waste product. Worldwide, about 95% of our hydrogen is gray. I think the problem here is pretty obvious. Sure, you can use hydrogen in a fuel cell-powered car and only give off water as a local waste product, but if the hydrogen was made through steam methane reforming, you're just shifting your carbon emissions from your tailpipe to a plant somewhere. There is a way to make the process more eco-friendly by capturing the CO2 and storing it or using it for other industrial applications, and hydrogen made this way is called blue hydrogen. Still, what we're after is the good stuff, the guilt-free stuff, the green stuff. Hydrogen is the most abundant element in the universe. It's found in this thing called water, which you may have heard of. Hydrogen can be pulled out of said water using electricity in a process called electrolysis. Using electricity from wind or solar power could vastly cut down on how much carbon dioxide the whole process creates. Hydrogen made this way is, you guessed it, green hydrogen. Of course, there's a catch. Green hydrogen is much more expensive to produce than gray or blue hydrogen. While a kilogram of green gas goes for about $6 today, the gray stuff is priced at just $1.60 per kilogram. Still, the European Union imagines natural gas as an important tool for getting to net zero carbon emissions by 2050. By improving electrolyzing machines and reducing the cost of renewable energy, green hydrogen could compete with its gray counterpart as soon as 2030. Then it could be applied in transportation, particularly for large vehicles like buses, trucks, and ships, where the drawbacks of current batteries make them less than ideal. But hydrogen has potential far beyond trucks or boats, and the EU has drawn up a roadmap of the ways green hydrogen could help them hit emissions targets. It could be used to decarbonize the gas grid and deliver heat and power around Europe. Adding it to the grid doesn't require huge upgrades, and energy producers could convert to use pure hydrogen. Essentially, hydrogen could be a way to produce energy in one place and then transport it for use or storage somewhere else, solving a big problem of renewables. Finally, hydrogen could be used in industrial processes to generate heat or replace coal-based blast furnaces in steel production. Right now, steel production is responsible for as much as 9% of global carbon emissions. It all sounds very tempting. Tempting enough that the EU proposed investing billions of dollars in green hydrogen. Separately, the UK is ramping up their own use of hydrogen, with buses and trains powered by the technology just entering service in a few trial cities. With reimagined transportation and a converted grid using hydrogen from clean sources, Europe could be a model for the world to follow if we're hoping to make fossil fuels a thing of the past. So, do you think green hydrogen is the answer, or is there another green tech you think will revolutionize the world? Let us know over on Twitter and Instagram. We're at Seeker, and I'm on there too, at Hug It Out. As always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time on Seeker.
And now, a word from our sponsors. PestProRidol.com.
PestProRidol.com, trusted by the best to keep away the pests. We are offering COVID-19 disinfection services. Mention this ad and get 1 month free service. Visit us at PestProRidol.com.
Tarzane Group, micro, miniature, and small orchids. Go to tarzanegroup.com or call Tomas at 305-440-0565. That's 305-440-0565 and order today. Visit Tomas and Yair at tarzanegroup.com. Micro, miniature, and small orchids, beautiful in your home. Go to the website and read Tomas's orchid blog. And by Dina D Design. DinaDDesign@gmail.com. Fine artwork, custom made to your specifications, logos, wall hangings, Judaica, and you can even have something for your child's room. Dina D Designs. Go to her Facebook or Instagram or call or text. Thank you very much to our sponsors. If you'd like to become a sponsor, please go right up here to where it says patreon.com/theactorsrabbi, and you can contribute even only $1 a month if you'd like, but that'll help us bring this broadcast to you on a daily basis and cover our expenses. Be sure to thank your sponsors when shopping and mention Breakfast with Ellie when you're shopping there. There might be discounts. Thanks for watching.
Torah, 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 Tziva lanu Moshe. Torah, 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 Tziva lanu Moshe.
All right. Patreon.com/theactorsrabbi or breakfastwithelli.live/tipjar if you would like to happen to support us. All right. All right. As we have noted, Avram began the reversal of the degenerative process that had begun with the sin of Adam and Eve, and it continued through the succeeding generations. The process he set in motion would culminate 7 generations later with the giving of the Torah on Mount Sinai. In order to lay the groundwork for the world's transformation into Hashem's home through the giving of the Torah, Avram had to set an example by his own life. In this context, his circumcision was his own personal Matan Torah, receiving of the Torah, a microcosm of what would later transpire on a national scale at Mount Sinai. Now, in living out the transition from finite human effort to infinite divine revelation, he set the stage for the creation of a people whose purpose would be to elevate reality above its natural limitations by revealing the infinite God in the finite world. Now, once Avram's personal transformation became the cornerstone of the national identity of the Jewish people, it became in turn the inheritance of each individual Jew. We're all challenged to learn from Avram's life. Avram aspired through his lifetime to make himself even to a more transparent vehicle for expressing Hashem's presence in the world. Yet, no matter how far he progressed towards his goal, he always knew there was still more to accomplish, that he had not yet reached true and absolute self-effacement. It was precisely in this merit that Hashem granted him his wish and enabled him, through the mitzvah of circumcision, to free himself from the constraints of human ego. So we too should always strive towards higher levels of our relationship with Hashem and never be satisfied with our present spiritual level. Together with appreciating our achievements, we should in parallel train ourselves to consider them merely a hazy, imperfect version of what we ultimately aspire to. When we live our lives in this way, we know that Hashem will respond to our endeavors and reveal himself in our lives commensurably. So no matter what you do, you always have to reach higher and higher and higher and higher. I know. Isn't that great? All right. In the fourth Aliyah, we're talking about Sodom and Amorah. Hashem rained fire and sulfur on Sodom after Lot and his family left, and then overturned the entire region. Even though she was instructed not, Lot's wife looked back and was transformed into a pillar of salt. Lot and his daughters took shelter in a cave. Assuming the entire world was destroyed, Lot's daughters intoxicated their father with wine and seduced him in order to repopulate the world. They each gave birth to a son, the foreparents of the Ammonite and Moabite nations. Avram relocated to the Philistine city of Gerar. Avimelech, the king of the Philistines, took Sarah, who was presented once again as Abraham's sister, to his palace. Hashem afflicted the members of Avimelech's palace with a disease and appeared to Avimelech in a dream, warning him to return Sarah to her husband Avram. Avimelech listened and also showered Avram and Sarah with gifts, and he and his household were healed. Sarah conceived, and at the age of 90, gave birth to a son who was named Yitzchak, that she laughed. Avram circumcised Yitzchak when he was just 8 days old, as Hashem had commanded him to do. Shnayim Yomi for today.
Welcome back, my friends. We are up to Revi'i, Parshas Vayera, Revi'i, moving along with the Shnai Mikaveh Targum. This, we come to a well-known story, unfortunate, interesting story, and that is that the daughters of Lot end up now being with him. They said, we got to get him drunk, and we got to have a relationship with him, and this is what ends up happening. Each one has a relationship with their father, and if you look at the Psukim, Pasuk says that with the first one, V'lo yada b'shichva uvekuma, he didn't know what was going on because he was drunk when the b'shichva, when he was lying down with her, uvekuma, and he was getting up. However, though, it is on the, if you look in the Torah, there's a nakud, there's a dot that's located on the word uvekuma, and it teaches us that what? Rashi says that really, he didn't know about the lying down, but he did know about the getting up. And even though he knew about the going up, what had happened, he didn't stop himself from getting drunk again. And we see that his behavior was really not okay. And that's what happens when you go hang out in the wrong places. He's hanging out in Sodom for so long, he gets the wrong idea. He ends up being with his own daughters. Terrible, terrible story about what happened over there. In any event, this is what happens. And they have two children. Each one has a child. One's Ammon, one's Moab. And ultimately Mashiach comes from one of these, right? The Rus, Hamoaviyah, comes from this. That's a whole discussion in the Mefarshim about how Mashiach is coming away, which is hidden and people don't know and don't realize it's going to happen. It has to be secret to trick the Satan to not stop it. It then moves on with this story about Avimelech and Sarah. When Sarah gets taken by Avimelech, and he doesn't know that they're married, right? These parshas are filled with like the tests of Avraham Avinu, and didn't realize that who he was. And Hashem appears and says, you better give her back because you're going to get in big trouble if not. And he's like, okay, I didn't know what was going on. I didn't even know you can't only count. He's like, that's why I didn't give you the smackdown yet. Although I did give you the smackdown, they were punished and they weren't able to have relationships and even use the bathroom. That's because of Sarah, what she had said. And he goes and approaches Avram, how could you do such a thing? How could you do this to me? And he says, yeah, what do you want from me? There's no Yiras Hashem here, no Yiras Shamayim. This is what happens over here. We then get to the famous story, which we read in Rosh Hashanah, and that is that Hashem remembers Sarah, and they have a child. And that child's name is Yitzchak. They finally have a child, Baruch Hashem. And then it says over there at the very end of the Aliyah, that Vayomal Avram and Yitzchak Beno Ben Shmonis Yamim Kasher Tziva Oso Elokim. And although we saw in Parshas Lech Lecha the idea of Bris Milah, there's only 3 mitzvahs in the entire Sefer Bereshis, one of them being Bila. Over here we have at the very end, that's Kasher Tziva Oso Elokim, and we know the mitzvah of Bris Milah is on the father and not on the mother, and he was willing to go and do such a thing. The Sefer Chinuch says a beautiful thing. Why does HaKadosh Baruch Hu create us in a way that we need to do Milah in order to teach it? Just like the physical body needs things to be worked on, so too the neshama has things that need to be worked on. And therefore, just so we fix up the body, we have to fix up our soul. Okay, my friends, we're going to stop over here. Continue Ratzlacha in your Shtein Mikra. V'yechad Targum.
All right, continuing now with Rabbi Marder.
So we've been looking at the story of Lot and Sodom and the angels who come, and we've pointed out yesterday that Lot was appointed to be the judge of Sodom, and we looked at comparing the ways in which he's trying to live out the values of Abraham, but has to do it all in secret. There are some interesting points that are made that, Abraham, told them to wash their feet first before they came in. And he said to them, you'll come in and they'll wash your feet. So, what's the difference? And so the tradition was, Avram told them to wash their feet to wash off any of their idolatrous practices, and Lot seems not to care about that and much before they come into his home. So things like that emerge, but those are minor until we get to the story that follows. It's familiar to us. The people of the town come and they press him. They say, we wonder who's here. Excuse me. Everyone, before they even had a chance to lie down, these guests, so they're all surrounded by the people of Sodom, surround them from young to old. Everybody. And they called to Lot and they said to him, where are these men who have come to you this night? Bring them out to us that we may know them by tradition, one that's held by Jewish reading and Christian reading for that matter as well, that they're seeking to violate them sexually. Excuse me, to violate them sexually, that's what it means to know them here. And the men will do so. Lot, and here's the problem. I mean, it's a big problem. It's all a big problem, of course. And Lot comes out to them, Hapetcha, around the door closed behind, Yomar, and he said, Al na achai tareyu. This so far so good. Please not, my brethren, do evil. And so now, so far so good, yes? And then he says, I have, behold, I have 2 daughters. No one's known them yet. They're virgin daughters. I'll bring them out to you. You'll do to them as is good in your eyes. Just please don't do anything to these 2 men. Because, a little complicated phrase. Look, after all, they've come under the shadow of my roof. And there's something really, so on so many levels, of course, horrible in what happens here, that Lot offers up his daughters to these people. But even more so, this is where he's desperate to hold on to the lessons of Hachnasat Orchim that he learned from Avraham. And so much so that please don't harm my guests. I got to protect my guests that I learned from Avraham, Hachnasat Orchim. And to the point where everything else that he learned from Avraham is completely lost. All the other values, he was all willing to give up his daughters to them. Oy vavoy. How is it that sometimes it can happen that people are caught up in trying to hold desperately onto something that they've learned, and in the very process of doing so, they reveal how little they understand. of the values that lie behind it. God willing, we'll continue and conclude our story of Sodom tomorrow.
All right. And now, our Parsha report.
Good evening, and welcome to the Parsha Report. Tonight's breaking news takes us to Central Park, where my pet gefilte fish has tied himself to a tree. Live on the scene at this very moment as our on-location breaking news and senior waffle eating correspondent, me. Jono? Thanks, Jono. Jono, tell us what's going on out there. Well, Jono, it seems like gefilte fish has handcuffed himself to a tree, claiming that he's waiting for a revelation from God. Excuse me, Mr. Gefilte Fish, if I may have a few words with you?
I can't talk now. Waiting for God. Oh, there he is now!
Ladies and gentlemen, this is an unprecedented moment.
Oh, sorry. False alarm. It was just an ice cream truck.
Ice cream truck? Oh man, I heard he took like 6 ice cream breaks today. I think the producers are getting very concerned. Oh well, anyway, if I may ask, why are you sitting outside this gross-itating tent chained to a tree with what seems to be an Ethernet cable waiting for God?
Well, if you must know, I'm doing it because of this week's Torah portion.
Guh?
In this week's Torah portion, God reveals himself to Abraham while he's sitting outside his tent.
Okay, that makes sense. Alright, I just lied to you. I'm sorry, that doesn't make any sense at all. Let's go live via satellite to our senior rabbinical correspondent who may be able to shed some light on this situation. Rabbi Kaduzzi? Hi, Jono. I think I may be able to shed some light on this situation with a story from one of the great Hasidic masters of our time. And I think I can eat a roast beef sandwich while you do so. There's a story about one of the great Jewish leaders of recent times, Rabbi Shalom Dov Ber Lubavitch. When he was a small boy, he asked his grandfather, if God revealed himself to Abraham, why won't he reveal himself to me?
Oh boy, this is it! I think I see him! My godly revelation has finally come! Oh no, that was just a squirrel eating a discarded hot dog.
Lucky squirrel. From this story, we learn that we've entered unprecedented times when anybody, regardless of what level they may be on, even a child, can have a strong and sincere desire to experience the holy and spiritual parts of life by learning Torah and doing mitzvahs. Jono, back to you. Oh yeah, so there you have it, folks, something about Torah and mitzvahs.
Oh boy! No, that's not God. That's just a stray helium balloon. Sorry.
Hey, that's my Ethernet cord!
Huh?
And the silliness continues. Absolutely ridiculous. All right. Now, Rabbi Mendel Kalmanson.
One of the more controversial stories in the Torah is a story recounted in Genesis chapter 22. It's a story of the Akedah, of the binding of Isaac. And there are many layers of meaning to this story. There's a beautiful teaching offered by Rav Shamshon Fall Hirsch, who was a rabbi that lived in the 19th century in Germany. And he poses the following question. He says there's something puzzling about God's behavior throughout the entire narrative. There's something inconsistent about God's interactions with Abraham. Because initially, when it comes to asking of Avram to give up his son's life, his only child, his continuity, his legacy as it were, God shows up himself. But later on, at the end of the story, in its happy conclusion, we find that it's an angel who delivers the good news, who tells Avram not to touch his son and leave him be. And he asks, this seems to be inconsistent. Why is it that when it comes to delivering the bad news, the traumatic news, does God show up himself? And yet when it comes to delivering the good news, the extension of life, God sends an angel. He sends a messenger. And he teaches that there is a profound life truism or teaching contained in this story, in this anomaly. When it comes to taking life, which metaphorically represents acts of judgment or criticism, admonishment, and so forth, one must ensure that the origin, that the source is God Himself. Conversely, however, when it comes to extending life, to giving life, which in this story is represented by the angel who tells Abram to leave his son, and in the broader sense, metaphorically speaking, represents acts of kindness, of charity, and so forth. In those instances, it's not necessary that the origin be pure and altruistic, but one can send a messenger, one can send an angel. There can be an intermediary which represents a somewhat tainted motive, so long as the result is positive and helpful. Because in Judaism goes the teaching, goodness is judged by the result, not so much by the purity or altruism of the motive. Which brings to mind the story they tell about the Alter Rebbe, who was the founder of Chabad Hasidism. And he had many students, and one of his students was a very wealthy philanthropist who had established soup kitchens throughout the country. And from time to time, he'd go and visit them. And in one private audience with his teacher, with the Alter Rebbe, he shared his frustration. He said, I find that when I go to these places and I observe and I watch, I gain immense inner satisfaction and pleasure. I get an ego boost. And he said, perhaps the proper thing to do would be to shut all these soup kitchens down so that my personal connection with God would remain or return to its pure and altruistic state. And the Alter Rebbe responded, absolutely not. He said, because while when you give, you may not be giving wholeheartedly or sincerely, but I can assure you, he said, that the poor man eats wholeheartedly and sincerely.
All right. You know the saying, just do it?
This is from Likutei Sichos Chelek Tes Vav, the third Sicha of Parshas Vayera. People ask, what's the point of persuading a person to do a mitzvah? For example, on Mivtzoyim, persuading a person or pressuring a person to do a mitzvah, to put on tefillin, to daven, any given mitzvah, what influence is that having on the person, and what kind of an impact is it really having on society and on the world if chances are that the person is doing the mitzvah only to alleviate the pressure? In other words, the person wants to get you off of his back, or the person wants to finish the conversation, so they agree to do the mitzvah, to put on the tefillin. So if the person is doing it without any excitement and without any passion, with no real interest, rather the interest is only to get through it, then what's the value of such a mitzvah? The answer is that there is great value, and we learned even from Avraham Avinu, who hosted a hotel and invited people in and fed them, and then taught them to bench, to say thank you to Hashem after they ate. And those people who refused and declined and said, no, we don't believe in God, he told them, well, then it's going to cost you dearly, because we live in a desert and food here is not that easy to come by. And therefore, the price for your meal is going to be very expensive unless you agree to say Birchas Hamazon, to say thank you to Hashem for the food. And then people would agree and they would say thank you to Hashem for the food. And Hashem thanked Avram later and said that you spread my fame and you made me popular throughout the world's population. And if the reason why so many of the people were thanking Hashem for the food is because Avraham Avinu was giving them an offer that they couldn't refuse, because he was telling them that it was going to cost them dearly not to make the bracha, then you could ask the same thing. What's Hashem thanking him for? For compelling people to say a bracha without any feeling, without any kavanah? Obviously not. Obviously there is a value to a person doing a mitzvah, even if it's compelled, even if it seems like it's without any kind of feeling, there still is great value, and it can change the whole world. And that is because a person by nature wants to do a mitzvah, and if a person is objecting, a person is resisting to doing a mitzvah, then pressure respectful and kind-hearted pressure can shake off the cobwebs that are blocking the person from the sensitivity to their own desire to do a mitzvah, and can inspire the person to recognize and to sense their own desire to do the mitzvah. So not only is the mitzvah really being done with all of their soul, whether they know it or not, but also a mitzvah brings another mitzvah in its train. So you never know when you convince a person to do a mitzvah, which mitzvah is going to be the result of that mitzvah. So there certainly is, inspired by Avram Avinu and Sarah and their hotel and the way they ran it, there certainly is every reason to convince a person with good cheer, but with firmness, that there is a value to doing the mitzvah, even if they think they're not going to do it ever again. There's a value to doing the mitzvah even one time, even just so to quote unquote to do me a favor. The act of the mitzvah should not be underestimated, and the value of the mitzvah can change the person, it can change the person's life, and could change the whole world forever.
Wow, that was pretty cool. All right, and here is, here is Rabbi Lewin for today.
Shabbat Shalom. In this week's parasha of Parashat Vayera, we read about the defense of Abraham, of the people of Sodom. How could he do this? They are so different to him. Let's dive into the story and ask ourselves the question, what would you do if you were Abraham? In our parasha this week, Abraham is confronted by God, who says to him, I'm going to destroy the city of Sodom, for they are evil. Abraham immediately jumps to the defense of the people of Sodom. He argues with God, bargaining God down from 50, down to 40, down to even 10 righteous people in the city of Sodom. Abraham succeeds in saving his nephew Lot, his wife and his daughters, but he fails to save the people of Sodom. The question that I ponder when I read this story is twofold. Number one, how could Abraham actually do this, argue with God? And the answer to that question is he learned from the failure of Noah. Noah, when confronted by God when God says, I'm going to destroy the world, Noah is silent. The prophet Isaiah refers to the waters of the flood as the Mei Noach, the waters of Noah. Noah is held accountable for not speaking out or arguing with God on behalf of humanity. So when God comes to Abraham and says, I'm going to destroy the city of Sodom, Abraham stands up to defend them. He does not wish to make the same mistake as the great Noah. But there's something even more powerful, and that is Abraham stands up to defend the people of Sodom, the people who he ideologically, morally, ethically, religiously disagrees with, and yet he stands up to defend them. In our world, we live in what is called the cancel culture. We have echo chambers. We only hear what we want to hear. When you click on Facebook and have the line being fed to you, you're in an echo chamber. You only hear the same narratives being presented to you again and again and again, reinforcing what you believe. And suddenly you hear a position from someone else articulated by the other side of the political divide. You cannot understand them. You shut down the feed. You cancel them. You block them. This was not the way of Abraham. This is not the Jewish way. Because if we are not willing to listen to the other side in a political argument, in a philosophical argument, in a religious debate, how are we supposed to articulate or crystallize our own thinking? When I hear someone on the other side of the political divide arguing their case, I immediately have two responses. Number one, let me try and understand what they're actually saying, because what they're saying is so counter to what I'm used to. Quite often, I'll get frustrated. I may even get angry. about their positions, but I think about not what they say, not who they are, but what they are saying. And then I ask myself a second question. Nu, how do you respond to what they are saying? And if I can think of good answers, fine and well. I've crystallized my position. I understand where I differ with this person. But if I don't, and I have no good answers for what they've had to say, well, then I have another problem. And that is, how can I maintain or keep my views when there is so much support and evidence to the contrary? And I might have to swallow that bitter pill and acknowledge that I'm wrong in this particular case. But because it is so hard to admit that I'm wrong, I'd rather just cancel, shoot the messenger, so I can continue going on my own level. Abraham argued on behalf of the people of Sodom. And the question I have is, if I was in Abraham's shoes, would I stand and argue for them in front of God? I leave this question for you to reflect on this week. Shabbat Shalom. Hi, this is Rabbi Lua, and if you've enjoyed the content of the sermons and the ideas that have been expressed in the YouTube video, please hit that first subscription button and notification bell, and share the videos with friends. We'd love to grow the channel and love to engage with you. Please share your comments in the section below. I'd love to hear from you. Have an amazing day.
All right, thank you so much. It is time to say Tehillim, and we are going to go to chapter 121, which we do every single day, and let's say it together. For today, the 5th day of Eshvan. Here is Rabbi Roni Fine. Take it away, Rabbi Fine.
Thank you for joining Tanya in 5. Today's lesson for the 15th of Cheshvan. We continue in the 27th letter of Igeres HaKodesh. In this letter, the Alter Rebbe is consoling the Hasidim after the passing of their dear righteous Rebbe, Mendel Haradoker. He's speaking about a righteous individual, and a righteous individual, after he passes away, is found more in this world than he was during his lifetime. So what is a tzaddik? What is a righteous person? He is an embodiment of a spiritual life, which is that of faith that God is the oneness of God and the awe and love of God. Now, while a tzaddik, a righteous person, is alive on earth, these three attributes, again, of faith, awe, and love of God, are contained by their vessel and their garment in this physical world. Meaning that the aspect of the nefesh is bound to the body. Therefore, all disciples receive only a radiation of the attributes of this righteous individual, meaning that which kind of spills over beyond the vessel of the being, the body, the soul and body of the righteous individual, is what a person gets. And what is that? Their holy utterances, their thoughts at best, is what we connect to them, or what they connect to us. And hence, that's why we can't comprehend their teachings of our master until after 40 years. Why? Because we're only getting a ray of it. We're not getting their actual faith. We're not getting their actual awe and love of God. Why? Because that's contained within a vessel, and we're just getting the expression of it, and therefore only a ray of it. Now, after their passing, however, the nephesh, which is the lowest part of the soul, remains in the grave, and it is separated by the second level of the soul, which is the ruach, the emotive aspect of the soul, which are containing these three attributes of the faith, awe, and love of God, which is in the Garden of Eden. And hence, anybody can receive a part of it when they are close to this righteous individual. Why can they receive a part of it? Because Gan Eden, they can receive a part of it because now it is not contained in a vessel. Before it was contained in their body, in their soul being contained within a body, and the restrictions, and the only way they could get is a ray of an expression through their holy utterances and thoughts. Now they're not contained by that, and therefore we can have actually, as their soul is in Gan Eden, an aspect of the very attributes themselves. Now, how's that? We're not in Gan Eden, they're in Gan Eden. Well, as we know by Jacob, our forefather, when he went in to get the blessings from his father Isaac, Yitzchak, it says that Gan Eden entered with him, the Garden of Eden entered with him. In other words, the Garden of Eden is not something way up there, but it is something here, but obviously in a different dimension that we need, that the righteous have an awareness of, but that reality does spread over the person, so much so that it says that everything that we say in this world and everything that we think in this world of holiness is recorded in Gan Eden. And likewise, to the contrary, heaven forfend, anything that is from the negative is recorded in Gehenna. Why? Because it spreads over the person. It is a reality in this world. Now, as a result, this makes it very easy for the disciples to receive a part of the essential aspect of their masters, the tzaddiks, ruach, again, these the faith, the awe, and love of God, because now it's not contained by the vessel of their being here in this world, and you can have an element of it. Now, exactly how do you have an element of it if their soul is up there? And yes, true that they're not contained themselves, but how do we get it down here if we are down here? True, Gan Eden hovers over us, but what is that? How do we have a part of it? Well, Alter Rebbe explains it's known that anything that is sacred is never wholly or totally uprooted from its place or its original level. Even after the soul of the righteous individual is going from level to level, and its soul is climbing, nonetheless, it still extends to disciples, each according to their level and to their closeness, because it remains down here in the lower level of Gan Eden, which that lower level of Gan Eden, again, is something that is affects us. It envelops us, and therefore, if we were close to the tzaddik during their lifetime or after their lifetime, and each according to the individual person's love, that means as much as they will be enveloped by the ruach level of that tzaddik who is in Gan Eden, but yet it extends, an aspect of it extends to us down here. But as the Zohar says, the only way that we can have that is when we prepare ourselves appropriately to be able to receive that faith, awe, and love of God that extends to us from this righteous individual by having a spirit within bring the spirit from above of that tzaddik. In other words, by preparing ourselves appropriately in a very immense effort in order to be a true recipient of this great divine worship of the tzaddik, that it should imbue us and we should have a part of it. And as the sages say, that if you have labored and you claim to have found it, believe the individual. And that is Tanya in 5. Thank you for joining.
All right, and that brings us to Sefer HaMitzvahs.
No, it's not impossible that Ebed did say, just study Rambam each and every day. I'll never miss.
Today's mitzvah, positive mitzvah number 49, is the commandment upon the Kohen Gadol, the high priest, to follow precisely every step in the order of the service in the temple on Yom Kippur, which means bringing all the proper sacrifices for that day, making all the confessions in their appropriate times, as well as all the other details that are set forth in the Torah, following them to the letter. Although in fact the Torah devotes an entire chapter to describing the service on Yom Kippur, we look at it as a single unit of one mitzvah. And that is because every step in the process is totally essential. If the Kohen Gadol was to miss out even on one thing, the entire service would be disqualified and would be considered invalid. So this teaches us that we are to look at the service as one entity. Hence, it's only one of the 613 mitzvahs.
There you go. And that is why. Matters of Mashiach. It is the 15th day of the month. All right, it says in Sefer Breshis in Genesis that Hashem, the Lord, sent him out of the Garden of Eden to work the earth from where he had taken. Now, the reason that man was expelled from the Garden of Eden is that Hashem wants us to transform it from within, specifically from the lowest, darkest, most unholy place in creation. Hashem doesn't want us to be holy and spiritual because we have no challenges and no evil. Instead, he wants us to struggle with evil, have independence and free will, and still choose Hashem's way. Only when we come to see Hashem from a worldly point of view do we truly choose him. And that is why we must not ignore our dark side. Mashiach is waiting in the shadows for us to transform that darkness into light. Here's Shmuel Tzvi.
Feel the holiness. Folks, I'm in the Holy Land of Israel, currently in the holy city of Tzfat, in the north of Israel, one of the 4 holy cities, the city where the Arizal led over our people. It's the city of the Kabbalah, where the Arizal reveals deep secrets of Kabbalah, of Chassidus, and this is how we connect to the Almighty, this is how we connect to our Master. This is how we get ready for the redemption. We have to connect to our Master. We have to meditate. We have to focus. We have to be joyous. We have to appreciate. We have to remember that Hashem is with us. Hashem loves us more than we can ever love ourselves. And with this, be ready to greet the Mashiach. With love, with joy, with happiness. Let's get ready. Let's meditate. Let's focus on all the things we have to be grateful for. Let's get ready to greet Mashiach.
All right. And now, our PSAs. Food 726-879. Food 879. You can get 7 days worth of pantry food and hot meals every single day in Flatbush, Borough Park, and Queens. Excuse me. In Rockland County, it's tomcheishabbos.org, tomcheishabbos.org. And in Chicago, it is the Chicago Center Kitchen at breakfastwithelli.live/Chicago Food Bank. For our master list, go to breakfastwithelli.live, and you can go breakfastwithelli.live/soup kitchens, and you can see the master list to get food, donate, or volunteer. Achiezer.org is available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week for any other needs that you may have. And Hatzalah EMS is there to help you out. All right. Hatzalah EMS, available to you 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, all over the world. Miss Askim in times of bereavement, go to missaskim.org. And to help bring Jewish youth back to the beauty of keeping Shabbat, go to justoneshabbat.com. Especially right now, if you are the victim of or see a hate crime in progress, you should call 911. And that applies even if it's Yom Tov or Shabbos. And, you know, my opinion, we're still wearing masks.
Wear a mask. Is this really much to ask? Tie some fabric around your face. Oh, it's the simplest of tasks.
You don't know what their vaccine status is. Now, you need to get a vaccine. That's really important. If you haven't gotten your vaccine, get it. If you haven't gotten your boosters, get it. If you are in a position that you need to get a monkeypox vaccine, get it. All of these vaccines are available and ready to help you live out your life, you know, for crying out loud. All right. Our job is not to get to heaven, but to bring. We are imprisoned. As long as we search for God by abandoning the world He has made, never truly find Him. As long as we believe that there's a place in His name, there's no true liberation. The ultimate liberation will be when we open our eyes to see that everything here, right now, it's there, inside, everything. You're inside. But the eye stands firmly guarding the gate. Eye out of the way. That. All right. You want to come talk about it more? Yeah. Come to any of the social media platforms at The Actors Rabbi on Clubhouse, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Spotify Live, Telegram, Twitter, WhatsApp, or actorsrabbi.com. There, you can take care of signing up for life coaches. All right? Make it happen.
Baruch ato Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam boirei nefashos rabois v'chesronan al kol ma sheborasa lachayos bohem nefesh kol chai baruch chai haolamim.
All right. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you to my Patreon sponsor. Go to patreon.com/theactorsrabbi, patreon.com/theactorsrabbi, and sign up to participate in bringing Torah to the world. I saw this. Our dear friend, Handona Bismat showed this to me. I thought you would like this. Let me see if I can put it up here. There you go. We changed the clocks this week, so don't forget the candle lighting will be on Thursday afternoon. Yeah, 4:23, boys and girls and others. 4:23. Candlelighting is at 4:23. Oh my goodness. What are we going to do about that? All right. Wednesday, it is hump day. On Wednesday, we wear pink. Go out and do something nice, something good for someone today. In the words of Rav Isaac Hamler, have affection for a fellow. Hashem will have affection for you. Do kindness for a fellow. Hashem will do a kindness for you. Befriend a fellow, and Hashem will befriend you. V'ata tzaddik, that you are righteous. Raphael Sofer with a beautiful new song, just downloaded yesterday. Have a great and glorious day. Come back tomorrow. Bring at least one more person to live. Bring one more person to listen with you. Bobby and Ayejeti and Leandro, please come back tomorrow. I'm here at 10 a.m. Eastern Time every single day. Talk to you then. Enjoy this music video and have a great, wonderful day. Bye.
רק עצב ומניות בקטב וכל דבר בקטב הכל לטוב רק הוא ואם הכי נתקלת וכל רגע נפלת וטוב גם לא שמעת הכל לטוב רק הוא אם בריאותך נחלשת ומפלה לוחשת ולא נשמע רשת הכל לטוב רק הוא אם פרנסה דוחקת לרוח לא נושבת ודעת לא מיושבת, הכל לטוב רק הוא. ואתה צדיק לכל הבעלינו, ואתה חסיד אתה מאור עינינו, אין כמוך אין, ורחמך אין, 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 אין. אם חלומות חלמת בטרם לא הגעת ולחם לא שבעת הכל רק הוא אם רבות רצונך ולא שמעו קולך איתך גם לא שונך הכל רק הוא ואתה צדיק על כל הבעלינו ואתה חסיד אתה מאור עינינו אין כמוך אין ורחמך אין אם יש בך רק עצב ומניות בקטב וכל דבר בקטב הכל לטוב רק הוא ואם הכי נתקלת וכל רגע נפלת וטוב גם לא שמעת הכל לטוב רק הוא אם יש בך רק עצב ומניות בקטב וכל דבר בקטב הכל לטוב רק הוא ואם הכי נתקלת וכל רגע נפלת וטוב גם לא שמעת הכל לטוב רק הוא